Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Mary Fain Brandt with a LinkedIn Bakery, and this is my Facebook live show, Bite-Sized Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs. I'm super excited to have a special guest tonight, Demian Ross from Social Media Examiner, and we first met at Social Media Marketing World, which y'all know is one of my favorite events. Damon is a digital nomad, which is quite interesting to me, and he's also the producer for the road to 300, right, Demian?
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah. So if you're not following him, I highly suggest that you jump over to Facebook and start following him. He's doing a doing a video, not a live, but doing a video for 300 days. But Damon, you're gonna maybe make that just a daily video?
Yeah, so originally the goal was to do 300 in a year. It was giving myself like a 65-day buffer for internet issues or if I was just down and out. But so far, 183 days and 183 days. So might as well try to.
Okay, so have, of course, now that I said everything was working, shift click. Give me 1 second.
Sure, no problem.
Can someone tell me if you can see Demian and me or just me? Or maybe just the cupcakes, because I just switched that. So okay. So they're only seeing me, even though I see both of us down here. Shift click sources.
You don't see Demian.
Yeah. Shift click sources. Okay. Hold that thought, folks. Give me 2 seconds. Damon, we might have to reboot, which I hate to do. Just me. Let's go. So. I saw everything and now nothing. Just me. So I got a bunch of people on here. So you guys just hold with me. I'm trying to bring Demian in. Gotta love tech. Everything looked great when we signed on at 6:30. And now it's not bringing Demian in. Oh, Demian, you're on.
Nice. Here I am. I was hiding.
The split screen isn't working, but hey, you guys don't need to see me. We're just going to put Demian on. So Demian, you guys, thank you all for being super patient there. There. Okay. So we're just going to toggle back and forth. Having some screen scene issues. Hey, that happens with technology and live shows. So I'm going to switch back and forth to Demian and myself. But I like all of my guests to tell the audience a little bit about themselves and how they got to the place they are now. So everyone, I'm going to go back to Demian. Demian, why don't you go ahead and share with the audience like your journey of how you got here?
Wow. Okay. It's an hour show, right? So
yes. You can do the condensed version.
Exactly. So I'm a kid that was born in Seattle with parents that were basically actors. And so we lived in New York, Boston, through Europe. We staked grounds in Los Angeles. They gave up the acting career but stayed in television. Mom actually produced a Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and Jay Leno.
What?
And
That's amazing.
So I did that for years. Yeah. So it was an interesting childhood for sure. My babysitter was Paul Rubin, someone known as Pee Wee Herman. My first girlfriend's dad was Michael Richards, who's someone known as Kramer.
Wait, I'm stuck with your babysitter was Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, my parents were at Cal Arts and they were seniors, and Paul Rubens, before Pee Wee Herman was even a character, was they had like a little like toddler daycare, and he was one of the freshmen that did that as a job, don't believe the fake news. If you're thinking about something right now, you're wrong.
No.
I'm just saying your audience, like the fake news has been around forever on that stuff. So, so then, decided to play some basketball in college, didn't really work out. Ended up getting then, girlfriend pregnant, which kind of makes it like you can't do it. Married her, had 3 more kids. So a total of 4 kids with her. Ended up not working out with her, ended up getting custody of all 4 of my kids, single dad, 4 kids.
Wow.
Did that. Yeah. I did that for about 14 years. And the only thing you can really do when you're a single dad with 4 kids is be an entrepreneur, because there's just always something going on.
Right?
You just get fired from jobs not showing up. So I did that for a long time. And then finally, when the kids started getting a little older, I thought I'm going to parlay my skills, became director of marketing at a mattress company, and did that for about 2.5, 3 years, and literally walked in from, 10 million to 25 million, walked in June 15th and was told they're going to let me go. And
no warning.
So no real warning. I mean, literally was planning a show in Vegas. Like, it just, they wanted to go a different direction. They wanted to hire an agency as opposed to doing all the marketing in-house. So then I just started my own agency and just wasn't into it, was just kind of, it was just difficult finding clients, didn't really want to do it. And then through that process, had been attending Social Media Marketing World. And once the word kind of got out that I was looking for stuff, Social Media Marketing World snatched me up as a sales guy. So I sell the expo booth side of Social Media Marketing World. I mean, granted, I work for Social Media Examiner, but I have very little to do with Social Media Examiner. It's kind of like if you worked at HubSpot, technically, because you run inbound the conference, but you might not do anything with HubSpot. So the same thing for me. I really work in and around Social Media Marketing World, and I've been there. It'll be 2 years in a couple of weeks right now.
Wow. Now, most of you guys know that I love Social Media Marketing World. I have volunteered there for 2 years. I'm super excited because this year when I was volunteering, they did a special to buy your tickets right then at the conference at a ridiculously low price. And I jumped on it because I've wanted to attend. I know the value of it just from being a volunteer. So I love Social Media Marketing World. I would say it is my favorite conference. When in some of the groups I'm in, people say, well, what is the conference that you have to go to every year? And Social Media Marketing World, hands down, is the conference that I have to go to. I'm sure that Demian and I will put some links after the Facebook Live show. So if anyone is interested in purchasing space with Demian or buying a ticket or signing up to volunteer, we'll put all those links in there. But let me go back to Demian. Okay. So Social Media Examiner, but you really work on the conference section of that.
Yeah, that's really, I mean, there's some, if you've ever been to socialmediaexaminer.com, there's not a lot of ads in it and around it. I mean, obviously for their conference, even our newsletter is very much ad free. So we can sell some ads in that, but really everything I do is for the expo space, the track sponsorships, the party sponsors, just for the event that's in San Diego every year. That's what I'm selling full time.
Okay. And so we really want to talk about, I've been watching your show. I have to say that I've been watching your Road to 300. And one of the things I love about it is because I'm getting to know you on a more personal level, and you're being vulnerable and you're very authentic and genuine. And I think, as you do, that more people need to be vulnerable. We need to show our human side and how life is, especially as entrepreneurs. I think that, as you've said and other entrepreneurs have said, we put the best of the best out on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, the pretty stuff. We look great. Our posts are beautiful, but that's just what we're putting out there. And there's so much more to that. And I feel in my journey as an entrepreneur, it's the relationships that have elevated me. It's the relationships that have encouraged me and inspired me. And I know when we talk about sales, you always talk about the relationship. Do you want to touch on the sales part of your job and the relationships?
Yeah, so I'm a relationship first type of person in the sense that I've had jobs where it's all about the numbers. You're just sending out thousands of emails and thousands of phone calls and you really don't care. I didn't know that the Road to 300 series would build relationships the way it has. I mean, that wasn't why I went into it. I really went into it as a creative outlet. I spend most of my time in Salesforce, GDocs, and notebooks and researching and, trying to break through and get into, people's kind of just mindset if this is a possibility to help grow their business. But I do, even today, I kind of had an interesting breakthrough idea of how I can add more value in building these relationships, because I did think when I got this job, because of how much I like the conference, and this will be my 7th year, that I felt like I could just call people and say, hey, I'm Damian Ross. I'm a Social Media Examiner, Social Media Marketing World. Let me tell you where to send the check. And it's still I know your conference. I know your event. It's a great brand. I don't know you. And I was kind of that's weird that is important still in 2018 or even 2017 when I started. So just a few weeks ago, I was at Content Marketing World, an event, and obviously they have exhibitors and a lot of my clients are there. So I go to meet and hang out. I was blown away by how many people recognized and knew who I was, or that when I'm talking to a prospect, there's an actual story to tell of like how I'm in this content creating kind of world now for myself to build these relationships. And so that part of it, I wish I could say, oh, it was all part of the plan. I had no idea that it was going to become that for me whatsoever, where, you know, people would either know who I am or be like, wow, at the time it was like 170 days in a row. Like, wow, you've done a video every day for 170 days. That's crazy.
And you put yourself out there with those videos. It's not like when I'm doing my videos, they're usually all business related, right? But you're just talking about whatever you want to each day, whatever the topic is.
Yeah, I do definitely, I talk about a lot of business and marketing and sales and social type stuff, but obviously I do break it down personal, or I talk about the digital nomad life. I have had some of the videos kind of take turns on me and get really deep and personal. And, you know, I've even battled with, do I post this? Because it's so real. One of the things like recently I was talking about was just my own struggle with like depression and anxiety. And I had two of my like highly potential prospects DM me that they're going through the same thing. And so for me, it was like, I can't think of a copy and paste email that would ever build a relationship with a prospect the way getting a DM and saying, I can't believe a guy like Demian is feeling depressed. Then it makes me feel like it's okay that I am, which is kind of like, again, I must be putting out some sort of social proof that doesn't make sense if you think that my life can't be a life that has depression interlaced with it or sadness in any way, because it does. But again, like we talked about before, it's really easy to do that in social media. I can make the digital nomad lifestyle look great. I can make working for any company look great. I can even make this look great somehow. And that's without filters. So it's like crazy.
So everybody check out Demian, and we call that the grandpa sweater, right?
Yeah, it is.
The grandpa sweater. Check that out. Grandpa sweater, the baseball cap, and the beard. That is his signature look. Unless he has a beanie, or what do they call it? Amanda's watching. From Canada, they're called a nook. A nook?
Toque.
A toque, a nook. So, it's a beanie or it's a toque if you're from Canada, like our buddy Amanda Robinson, who's watching. Hi, Amanda. Hello to everyone that's watching. Yochi, Rick is watching. Joe, Michelle. Hey, Michelle, you're over in Virginia. Thanks for staying up and watching. Amanda, Toque. Toque.
Yeah, she's been, and she was recently in the States wearing a beanie, and I told her, when you're in the States, you have to call it a beanie. It's no longer a toque. But if I ever end up back in Canada and I'm wearing an American beanie, it becomes a toque. I get it. Like, that's respectful to the country that you're in, but don't call it a toque when you're in the States.
Right. I totally agree. Amanda, this is for you. It's a beanie when you're here in the States. But I get it if in Canada you have to call it a toque. But here we just call them beanies. My husband has a whole drawer of them. Every sports team that he cheers for, every college, just a ton of them. I don't know why he needs a new one every year. I don't understand, but he does. Right, Joe? Because I know he's watching too. So, Demian, why don't you tell us some more? I love that you went to this conference and your clients were there, and I think that you're becoming more relatable. They're getting to know you as a person, not just as that name that's coming through for Social Media Examiner, wanting to sell them something for the conference. What other sales tips and relationship builder advice do you have for the audience?
I think the main thing that I'm really learning, and it's something that kind of even my boss, Emily Kroom, talks about, is just adding the value to the conversations. So maybe 1 out of 10 is like really talking about them doing business. Either 9 out of 10 is just providing value, whether it's a news article or a podcast or a video or something that'll help them grow their business or a relationship they should get into. So it's really just being kind of the guy that's helping people. And I feel like if I'm that person, if I'm just out to help people, at the end of the day, they're going to trust me. And it goes to the know, the like, and the trust. And I feel like a lot of people like to skip it. They like to go, no, okay, you know me, now trust me. And you're not spending time getting them to like you. And one of the ways for people to like you is just to add value, is just to do things for them with nothing in return. I mean, this is a Gary Vee thing that he's talked about where, he doesn't get disappointed by people because he's not doing things for people and expecting something in return. If they end up buying his book, that's great, but he's not giving shout outs and doing these things to get a book purchase. He's just doing it because that's generally who he is. I'm the same way. I will talk and help people. And if they buy from me or not, I hate to say I don't care, because at the end of the day, my bosses could be watching. I do care, but I kind of don't. Like, I just want to be able to help them, as much as I can. And if what I'm selling doesn't make sense, don't buy it. Like,
Right.
one of the most insulting things I was ever told was that whole, Demian, you could sell Eskimo to an ice. And I was kind of like, well, one, the Eskimo's going to get home and his wife's going to be so pissed off that he bought ice, and it's like, we have ice everywhere. I wouldn't trick anyone. I would like want to sell him a warm blanket. I'd want him to go home and be the hero. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like that kind of a thing where we've actually, believe it or not, we've turned business away. We've had people that are like, we want to go, we want to be there, we want to be a sponsor. And it just doesn't make sense. We know they're not going to see the return. And so we don't want that experience for them anyways. We want people that can come and grow. So just add the value. And then also too, know when to walk away. I mean, I think a lot of people, they've heard this thing where it's like, oh, it takes 45 no's to get to a yes. And I'm like, oh, maybe in marriage proposals, but not in sales.
I hope not in marriage proposals.
Just, when it doesn't make sense or doesn't make fit, back away. You can still add value. Maybe it's not your strong value proposition that you're trying to bring to other people that have a real potential, but you got to know when to stop. And just because you got to remember, in the 40s and 50s, when you called a company as a salesperson and said, hey, I'd like to come by and talk to you about X product, the response was, I'll have coffee ready. I'll see you at 9 a.m. Right. This is great. We look forward to talking to you. It was all that kind of stuff where those days are gone. Nobody wants to get on a phone call. No. Nobody even really wants to respond to an email. And this was day one, you were willing to sit down and meet with someone because nobody was wasting anyone's time. And I think that comes down to the other part, that's research. I really feel like you need to research the companies that you're reaching out to and make sure that there really is a good fit. I have people that contact me all the time in some BS blanket draft email or DM message on LinkedIn that's like, we looked at your social media profile, we could really help you. I'm like, really? Did you look at it enough to know who I work for? Because I think, and it's like, does LeBron James get like emails that it's like, we can help you with your basketball career? I don't know if you DM me for the highlights. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, do some research. So add value, do some research, and understand when a no is a no and walk away. It's okay.
Yeah, so I have to chime in on that because, I'm a LinkedIn strategist, right? I have my own business. Clearly states that on LinkedIn, like my whole profile, my summary. And I can't tell you how many DM messages that I get on LinkedIn saying, I think you'd be a great fit for our team. Let me show you how to make money. And so my friends laugh at me, but I'll take that as a teachable moment and I'll send that person back. And I did this like 2 weeks ago, a message saying, oh, I'm sorry. You obviously didn't read my profile because I have a thriving business. Thank you very much. I'm very happy with my own company and you need to do your due diligence and you need to read someone's profile before you copy and paste and send that. And I actually went back and forth with a lady. I said, you really, if you're sending this message to people, you're not going to get sales. You're not even going to get connections. Like most people are going to just delete you right away. And she, after a couple messages back and forth, she's like, thank you for that advice. I'm like, you really need to read someone's profile, get to know them before you try to sell them anything. That is I think the biggest mistake that I've seen. And also, Demian, on the knowing when to turn people away. I actually just turned away a client this week. It just wasn't the best fit and the timing as far as the bandwidth that I have to support that client. And I felt really bad because she was really excited to work with me. So what I did is I gave her a free 30-minute strategy session. I didn't have to, but I was like, you know what? I want to serve you. I'm going to give you 30 minutes. We're going to go over your profile and you're going to walk away with 5 things that you can do to make your profile stand out and how to connect and message people. And she was thrilled. And I did that for her, not for me, like you said, but she's like, I'm going to refer people to you. And when your course comes out, let me know. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. I was like, cool. But I just did that because I felt so bad that I had to turn her away and I wanted to serve her. I felt
No.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what I'm going to put you on the spot maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, cuz you like that kind of stuff, right? So, what's the biggest mistake or in selling that you've made or a story that you can share? Like you put your foot in the mouth, you know, wrote the contract up right. I know you have to have some kind of story from your mattress days or anything that you can share publicly. That
Wow, that's a good question.
like, you would have gotten the sale if you had.
Yeah, I think for me, I think one of the biggest mistakes I made, especially, so here's an interesting thing. When I got the job at the mattress company, I was hired as a digital marketing director. So it wasn't even like the full, director of marketing. It was just going to do like their social and YouTube stuff. And I thought, you know what, you guys, why don't I, for the first 90 days, I'll spend 30 days in a store, I'll spend 30 days in the factory, and I'll spend 30 days with delivery trying to learn the business. And one of the things I learned early on that's helped me, and I made the mistakes, is I was selling with my wallet. So someone would come in and basically say, hey, we're looking for this type of bed. And I couldn't take them to the $8,000 bed because I would never buy an $8,000 bed. So it seemed like just insane to me. So I was selling with my wallet, and my kind of mentor at the time was like, don't sell with your wallet, just because.
With your wallet. Ooh, I like that term.
Yeah. And it it's like, holy crap. I've heard of wallet share, but this one was like, oh, okay. And so for me, I think that's a mistake I made early on, because what was incredible, in my 30 days, I became the top salesman in the store, and there was guys there or within the company that had been there 20 years for the 2 months I was doing it. And it was only going to do it for 30 days, but I actually really felt like I'm learning a lot. And what I think I learned too was I came in with the idea of I'll use the terminology they want to use, but I learned that my customer doesn't speak that way. So my ads and my marketing couldn't speak that way. As far as a huge kind of mess up within sales, the only thing I can remember as a kid that was great, that I worked for a place called Gill's Ice Cream and Farmers Market. If you're from Los Angeles, you've been to Farmers Market. It was like one of my first jobs out the box. I was like 15, 16 years old. And we had soft serve ice cream. You're only supposed to give a certain amount, and I just felt like it wasn't enough. So I was always giving a little more. And Mr. Gill was always like, Demian, hey, you need to give the exact 20 ounces. And I was like, I do. And he's like, no, look at this. It's too much. And he literally turned around and said, oh, can I help you? And she's like, you know what? Can I wait for Mr. Big Scoop? He gives a lot.
Mr.
Like that
Big
was like,
Scoop.
and I was like, I probably lasted another month there. And he was like, that's it. You're killing my profits, kids. Cause I didn't understand that everything's related to cost. I thought $5 for a bowl. It doesn't matter if it's 20 ounces or 28 ounces, so either I've forgotten or I just don't have where I've really,
That's okay.
yeah, made bad mistakes that way. I mean, I do the normal things. Things fall through the cracks. I forget about a lead. I forget to follow up sometimes. And then someone else has to. It's weird though. Sometimes those things help out where someone's like, hey, Demian, I reached out to you and it's been a couple of weeks, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm so busy. You don't sound desperate. Like, where before maybe I would have responded in, 2 hours and been like, hey, and you sound all desperate. Well, now it's like, well, he needs me, because it really is still, I don't like to play the games, but it still is kind of a power struggle between client and customer, or, between company and customer, where, it's who has the power, and it's like, it's funny that still happens. And I think sometimes when I take things a little slower, better things happen, rather than if I just get amped and respond in 15 minutes, and so that's kind of an interesting thing, that sometimes even my mistakes kind of help me, which is weird.
Yeah. I have to say, I never respond in 15 minutes. That's not in my bandwidth. I usually am delayed in getting my proposals out to my clients, because all my client base, the way I work, it's, proposal based. And then I think that for anyone that's watching that's doing sales in the coaching, probably even social media, management, industry, you usually send out a proposal. I find that where I fall short is the follow-up. Like you're saying that it's okay for you, it kind of works out. For me, I'm like, oh, I've got to follow up, or I didn't reply back with that proposal in a timely manner. So I know that has hurt me, a couple times with clients that were like waiting for that proposal. And I think that dinged me because they didn't get it in 24 hours.
Right.
Yeah. So that's definitely ding. So Yochi says, what do you mean by don't sell with your wallet? Do you kind of want to explain that so the audience can have a better understanding?
Yeah. So again, if you are selling a product that you could never afford to purchase, how do you go about that? We had mattresses that cost $60,000.
What?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like we sold, Shaquille O'Neal's. I think I can say that now. It's been a while, but a 20 by 20 custom bed that, like we had to remove a wall to bring it into his house. Like we did, it was, that was a lot of what we did was the custom stuff. And
Okay.
so I would never buy a $60,000.
Neither would I.
I would never buy a Bentley. I'm not going to roll a $300,000 car. That's who I am. But it doesn't mean that people don't want to buy that or don't. So you just don't want, when someone comes in, and especially in retail is really, even in mine, like maybe I would say if I owned a small to medium size, social media tool, that maybe X booth would just be too expensive for me. And so I'm taking that mindset when I'm talking to someone. It's the wrong mindset because I don't know their budget. I don't know the money they have to spend. I don't know what kind of, they might have just had a C series and have, $40 million they've got to get rid of quick. So you just don't want to take what you think is the right price and pitch that. You want to do the research and the conversation to find out where their budget's at, what they can afford, and then go from there. So just don't sell with your wallet what you can afford.
I like that. So I've recently hired some people to help me with some things. And this particular person, I love how she asked the question when I was hiring someone to do some marketing, and she's like, well, what's your budget? Right. So one of the sales strategies is you ask your client, like, well, what's your budget? And then they give you a number and you deliver upon that number. And it's kind of sneaky in a way, because I wanted to just say, like, well, here, what can you do for me? Right. And how much will that cost? And let me determine what my budget is. But I've done that. I've seen that happen with a couple coaches and marketing people. They'll say, well, what's your budget for that project, Mary? And I'm like, well, I don't know. That's why I'm reaching out to you guys, right? So I'm right. But it's a strategy. It's asking what their budget is. So they're not putting me in that box. They know I'm a small, I'm an entrepreneur, solopreneur, party of one, but they're not putting me in that box that I can't afford their top services. They're simply asking me, what is my budget? And I always find that I feel like it's a little sneaky the way they ask, but I get why they do it. Right?
Yeah, it's a tough conversation to have because I need to have it too, where it's like I don't want to pitch, a lead sponsorship or a 20 by 20 space if their budget really is only in a 10 by 10 or a tabletop space. But if they have a larger budget and some of these other things make sense, I want to talk about it too. It is a hard conversation to have, and most people won't really even tell you what their budget is, so it's kind of hard. To me, it's an ask and drop as well. Like I'll ask. And if I'm starting to feel it's putting them in an uncomfortable position, and we used to do it at the mattress store. I mean, I hate to bring it up. Like, well, what are you looking to spend? Everyone's like, I'm looking to spend $100. It's like, well, you're not going to get a king size.
We've got 2 pillows for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the hard part. We don't, and one of the things that's different for us too, and again, I hate to bring it up again, but even the mattress industry, we don't do the double it up and then discount it by 50% to make it seem like you're getting a deal.
I hate that.
Yeah, the industry really did that. They didn't, which was great. We don't do it here. The I would say the conference expo side of stuff, there's a very inflated retail, and then it's this fake discount. And one of the things that I learned, it was this company in Brea, California called White's Draperies, and it was owned by a really great family, and their last name was White. And he had these binders on the back of his desk that said 90 to 10. And it was 90, 80, 70, 60, 54. And I asked him one day, what are those? And he's like, oh, those are for people that want to save anything from 90% to 10%. So what he did was he created price lists that were ballooned up. And if someone's like, well, I go to Home Depot and I can get this for 50% off, he would grab his 60% off binder and say, okay, now I can save you 60%. Do you want to save 70%? Let me get that binder.
Wow.
And it was an education process with his customers. Like, don't fall into, just because they said it has a retail value of $20 and now they're selling it for 10, it's not 50% off. Fun fact, I wear white V-necks basically every day.
Right.
They are all the time like $7.99 at Old Navy. Unless Old Navy wants to do a buy one, get one free, then they become $12.99.
Right.
So now I bought 2 for $6.50 instead of 1 for $7. And because I'm a regular customer, I'm always like, that's some funny stuff. That it's, when I saw the ad, buy one, get one free, I thought I was going in and buying one for $7 and getting one,
right,
50% off for $3.50. That's not the way the game's played. And so we don't do that at social media marketing world. We're not inflating prices so there's a discount. So that's hard for us too, because the industry does do that. They play around with that. And we're very transparent. Marcus Sheridan kind of old school where, our prices are on the website. Like, you don't even really have to talk to me. We don't do that. Well, we got to have a phone call for me to talk about the prices. It's all there. Like, let people figure it out if it makes sense for them ahead of time, and then they can contact you, which is really a better way of doing it anyways. I don't hide the sales, costs at all, which is great.
Oh, I like that. So, are you looking for people like all year? Like, you're pretty much, as soon as that conference is over, you're working on the next year, right? Isn't that way it typically works, within a month? Or
yeah, so the way the annual calendar works is, as soon as it's over, I'm spending the next month doing wrap reports and hopefully getting anyone that was at this year's event locked up for next year. But with understanding that, these are marketers that spending or locking up their marketing dollars in February, March of 2019 for an event that's not going to be until February, March 2020 is hard to do. I would say the next 3 or 4 months after that, it's all relationship building. It's all just adding value. I mean, there's really not even a lot of sales calls. Even if you have really deep early bird kind of discounts, it's still tough to do for people to commit to something. I had a $1 million budget, and that was, from January to December, and you just weren't going to get a good chunk of that, in March for something that's not until the next year, or, like, I can't even pay you until the fiscal year that the event is. So it's an interesting balance. So the next 1 month, really trying to do wrap reports, renewals. The next 4 months, it's really about building relationships, trying to go to other events, meet the key players. And then that 6 months leading up, like the time period I'm in right now, it is full. Let's get on the phone. Let's do presentations. Let's talk about it. Let's see if this makes a good fit. I mean, there are people that ask me, it's a full-time job. You do it year round. And, I'd say that there's probably companies where it wouldn't be year round, but I feel like you miss out on the value building and the relationship building time. I mean, to be able to communicate and contact people without trying to pitch them is a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I know that I don't like getting pitched. And I have to say, when you pointed out the fact that you work on it the year before, but locking in their money for something that's the following year, that's really hard. And it's almost like me buying my ticket for something that was the following year. But I know that I'm going to be here and I'm going to be available to go to the conference. And it's a big price difference, but I feel like most of the tickets are probably purchased a lot closer to the event, except for the people that are traveling from, like Europe and out of town. How many people did the conference have last year? Was it 4,000 or 5,000?
It's around 4,100, and we hope to have about 7,000 this year. I think just in the pre-sale tickets at the event, we outsold 13, 14, and 15 just right after 18 was done because of that, exceptional kind of deal. Yeah. And and that's it. Actually, to be honest, that's below our costs. I mean, I don't think people mind us mentioning. Yeah. It's really you kind of almost lose money from, what it costs to have someone on site. Like, I've learned a lot. A convention center, let me say this. The only time I find airport food affordable is after I've bought in convention center food. Like, that's how expensive these places are.
Yeah, the lunches and stuff were expensive for everyone.
But that's the point. It's like we're really rewarding the people that have already attended and have already made the commitment, and now they're going to be locked up, to come back and be with us. And I think, to your point, there are a lot of people, the same thing, like maybe their work's paying for it, but they can't purchase it until 2019. So they really have to wait till like January 2nd and then jump on a ticket. Or they can't get events approved for the first quarter until the fourth quarter. There's a lot of that corporate kind of stuff. So they just miss out on, as our ticket prices go up every week until we get right up to the event. And we do sell a ton of tickets that last month, believe it or not, which at some point can be, almost 40% more than if you had purchased it, 6 months earlier.
Right.
So,
yeah. So you guys, if you're thinking about social media marketing world, you want to get your ticket now, because he's right. The prices just continue to increase. So mark it on your calendars. We will put those links below. Stephanie joined us. Hi, Stephanie Lou. She's my Facebook Live muse. If it wasn't for Stephanie, I would not be here doing Facebook Live. So, hey girl, how you doing? So Demian, I just wanted to know, can you give us, I think you gave us some really good tips. Don't sell from your wallet. I love that tip. It's about building the relationships. But let's just go ahead and wrap this up with what your 3 main tips are for, I guess, nurturing the relationships and building those sales. What has worked for you?
I think for me, it's letting people get to know me. Like it really is. Like I think that's where the video series has really changed my mind. I think being relatable. It's been funny that mentioning kind of just, I've been sober 21 years and I mention that sometimes. And, that becomes like, oh my gosh, I've struggled with that or whatever. And it's like you're building these relationships because you're a real human. I don't want to be Demian Ross works for social media marketing world. I want to be Demian Ross. And that's who I want you to kind of do business with. It shouldn't matter the brand behind me or the brand I'm selling. You want to do business with me. Now, for me as a digital nomad, I'm traveling the country full time. In the last, year and a half, I've, 26 states, 25,000 miles. I've used it to my advantage to help build these relationships. But again, I would love to tell you that was the plan. It wasn't the plan. Like once I started emailing people. No, it wasn't the plan in the sense like I would use it. Like I was actually worried that the company I worked for would, find it weird. I told them when I got hired I was moving to Texas and get out of California. And then I decided to travel the country. And after about 4 or 5 months and then, people following me in social that are prospects, and they're like, well, Damian, I understand you were just in Utah and now you're in Idaho and explain it. It really became like a talking piece. So my life became what became interesting to build the relationships. And I feel like that's the top thing you can do is build the relationship with yourself. And I know it sounds self-serving, but I'm still learning that. I've been in sales a long time, but people will know, like, and trust you. They're going to know, like, and trust the brand. But at the end of the day, if they can know and like trust you, the person, it's 120 fold. Like you're just going to do so much better. And I really think it is. Like, I think it's that, even like with social, if you're selling something, I think you should be selling something 1 out of 10 posts. The other 9 out of 10 posts should just be adding value. It's the same with my communication. I rarely try to sell and set up a call. I just like to send them, hey, I saw this. I thought you would like this. I thought about you. This was funny. Hey, it was a year ago we did this. Whatever it is. I think that just, again, it's building the relationship. And don't do it in a way where it's like, well, I'm gonna send these 3 and then the 4th one's going to be about trying to close the deal. I really think if you approach prospects like friendships, you do really well. It's a long game. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've learned that. Like I didn't know anyone in this industry. I got hired and I just didn't really know anyone in this space. And now I have brands engaging with me. I have, let's say, like Nimble has been retweeting my road to 300.
Oh, how really? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Or commenting on it. How much easier is now for me to like, hey, thanks so much for sharing that. Hey, who's the person at your company that handles events? Do you have someone? I mean, it's so much easier when they're building that kind of just trust with you, which is great. Now, the one thing I will say that we don't have that, like, let's say I had a potential prospect. I can't contact the people at Social Media Examiner and say, hey, do me a favor, write a blog post about this company and, make it really favorable, because then I'll contact them, or, let them speak at Social Media Marketing World and I can sell, we just don't play those games. There's a huge separation of, church and state, content and sales, because as a salesman, I could ruin Social Media Marketing World. I could sell every stage, every keynote, and I've been to these events. I went to an event recently.
Like, is it where you're talking about where the speaker sponsors it, so they get to get on stage, and it's maybe not the best speaker?
So the first question I always get asked is basically, how do we get a speaker sponsorship? Because most, maybe you don't know this, but most events, you're buying a ticket, and the person that's standing on stage paid to be on stage. So you're basically selling each other. And now there are obviously events where people are still there on their own merit. Don't get me wrong. But at Social Media Marketing World, everyone that's on stage has earned their way on stage because of either they're the top in their field or they've built a relationship with Mike and Phil. That's it. To give you an example, even last year with Billie Jean Marketing, he wanted like a speaker sponsor kind of package. And I was like, we don't sell speaking stuff. And he was like, oh, okay, well, other events I speak at. I appreciate that. I mean, you got the chops, He was on a podcast. Mike overheard it. Mike brought him on his podcast. Mike decided he needs to be a speaker. Once I heard that Billie Jean was a speaker, I called him up and said, hey, you got the speaking part. Let's do the sponsor part.
He had a huge booth or a huge, yeah. He took
Oh
a,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He had a big setup. Like he did it right and went big for sure. So that's just a different kind of approach that other conferences. So, the things that actually would make things easier for me is if I could add a pixel to our website or our Facebook page for our prospects or my clients, if I could give them the attendee list and you could receive 5,000 emails before the event, just getting pitched, I could do much better. If I could sell the stage, I could do much better. But ultimately we wouldn't have the type of event we have, that you're learning from the best because they're there. You're not getting overran by emails before you get there. And it's just a different event, because of that. And I didn't know that was their magic sauce. And a fun fact that people talk about is nobody gets paid to speak at Social Media Marketing World either. Where most events, there are some speakers that's how you get them. You have to pay them. They're there because they want to be in front of this audience, and it really brings a different kind of genuine conversation with speakers. I don't know if it removes the ego because they're not getting a $5, $10, $100,000 check, whatever their fee is, but it makes them so much more approachable. And I even see some of these speakers that are normally getting paid and bounce after the event, they're sitting in other sessions and
wow.
hanging out, because their peers are there. It's just different. And that's one of the things I just didn't know until I got into this industry.
Yeah. I have to say that last year I went to a couple sessions as a volunteer, and I've followed Amy Porterfield for quite some time, bought some of her courses, and I actually got to talk to her when she was done talking. It's because what you say, the speakers that are there, they're there because they want to be there, and they want to talk with you afterwards. Like Vivica von Rosen, I look up to her because she's, a LinkedIn expert. She's been doing this for a long time. And I actually got to go up. I took a picture with her, said hello to her. So it is a different caliber of speakers. And I think they're there with that genuine heart to share with the audience their knowledge and to inspire and educate and entertain us. So it definitely is different from some other conferences that I've been to. And that's why Social Media Marketing World continues to be my favorite conference every year. So I think that's about it. Do you have any other golden nuggets that you want to share?
I would say from the sales process, get away from automation. I know everyone talks about it. I really think the one-off, the one-on-ones, making sure people are knowing that, they're not just getting something that's sent to everyone. Again, it's so important to do the research. It's so important to add the value, and it's so important to just treat people just decent and respect kind of the way they want to be sold to. And you'll learn that quickly, whether it's they want to receive text messages or phone calls or emails or DMs. You'll learn how they want to be sold to, sell to people and communicate and build a relationship the way they want to. And be real. Like the guy that's on this show, the guy that's on the videos, the guy that's in emails, it's the same guy on all three. You're not going to be like, well, this is different than the guy that was on the phone. Like I don't have that sales voice. I don't have to remember what I told this person because I told this other person something else. It's all really the same. I don't treat people any different whether they have a $20 million budget or a $5,000 budget. And I think if you do those things, you're gonna kill it and just keep going at it and do things that give the rest of us salespeople a good name. Stop doing the crappy things. Stop sending a LinkedIn request and 2 minutes later throwing a whole proposal in the DM. Like just stop all that. And I could do that a million times. Like don't follow me, and then once I follow you, then unfollow me because all that just cheesy, awful stuff that's out there. Don't do it. Just
it's a
be
waste
genuine
of time.
And be real.
Yeah,
it is without a doubt.
It's a big waste of time to not be genuine, not be real, and just send those proposals right away, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever platform that you're on. Yeah, I have to high five to that. Please don't do that. Get to know people before you try to sell them anything. Does anybody else hear that?
Yeah. It's like a phone call, but I'm not getting a phone call.
I'm not getting a phone call. That is
That
so
is the
weird.
weirdest thing.
Love tech. I love technology when it works. Hey, so I hear your cat, I'm sorry, wait. I hear the cats that live with you in the background. What are your cats' names? Or I'm sorry,
Actually,
what are the cats' names?
So funny story. It's like a phone's ringing.
Who's?
That is the weirdest thing. Is someone calling you on Facebook?
Well, if they are, I'm on. Yes, somebody says, sorry, I accidentally dialed. Okay, Gabby, are you watching and you accidentally dialed me?
It
If I don't
All you gotta do is
answer
stop
it,
dialing at some point.
right? It won't. Yeah. Hi, Amanda. I know it's Facebook, but how can I possibly stop that?
That is the weirdest thing.
Does anybody know how to stop that annoying? Oh, wait. Silence is golden. That's great. I don't even know who Gabby is that was messaging me or calling me. Thanks.
Oh, the
It's
worst
a
thing.
fun show
So actually,
tonight.
funny story. Yeah,
Yes.
fun story. I don't know the cats' names. I'm not a cat person. I call them both Bubba. I know it sounds like I'm a terrible human being. These are not lap cats in any way. It's taken them. I've known them for 3 years, and they're just barely starting to warm up to me. But I'm just not a cat guy. But I will say this.
Okay.
When you live in an RV full time, having cats in the RV is a really great thing
Really?
because they put out a predator scent, and mice and rodents want to stay away. So people that just have dogs, let's say, they still end up with a mice rodent problem no matter what you do. We haven't had one issue. They go after spiders, they go after flies, so they're really great. They stay to themselves. They're like little weird homeschool kids that sit in the closet. And if you homeschooled your kids, I don't mean that, but it's just kind of a joke. And they're great. I don't have to walk them. You don't have to worry about them. But I don't know their names. I just call them both Bubba. They're Bubbas.
3 years and you don't know their names. What about your friend? Is she there? Does she want to come say hi, or is she hiding too?
No, I think she's actually on a phone call. So she's
Oh,
back there right now talking to
okay.
someone.
Well, we're going to have Nikki on a show in the next year. We've lined up the guests for the rest of the year. So
Nice.
yeah,
She would be a great guest. I mean, she really knows her stuff in and around Amazon shopping. I think if a lot of your people are looking for some good side hustle that they can do, and if they like shopping and you can make money shopping, give me a break.
Wait.
She'd be a good
two
side
hands
hustle.
up. I love shopping and I love to make money shopping. So I'm just interested to learn. I'm always interested in learning different side hustles. And I think,
Yeah.
they say something like 50% of entrepreneurs, they have a side hustle. They're doing something else because it's not easy to be an entrepreneur and start your business. And I say this all the time, folks. It's going to happen one day. I'm going to write a book called How to Save $10,000 Your First Year in Business. Because
Nice.
I blew $10,000 my first year in business, basically buying programs and
Right.
$1,000 here, $1,000 there. Programs that I haven't even finished to this date. So I'm going to write that book one day and save everyone $10,000 and shave 2 years off your time. That's my joke.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
So,
love it.
and Demian, just thank you so much for being on the show and taking the time. I wasn't sure how it was going to work because you're in the RV. I'm like, well, is his lighting going to be okay? Is his signal okay? You have like the bomb setup there. Like your setup is better than mine. I'm cracking
I do
up.
think it's funny when I'm on client calls and their internet's dropping off and they're like hooked up to DSL, or even when I'm talking to other staffers and I'm on a booster and a router and it's all wireless, and yet I have great signal. But again, that goes back to one of the funny things about the lifestyle is Nikki's the one that plans really all the location stops, and I just asked for two things: really good internet and as close to water as we can be, so I could put the kayak in. And
Nice.
for a year and a half, she's done an amazing job. Yeah.
Well, high five to Nikki too. And
Yep.
and Amanda was Amanda and Demian were on a Facebook Live earlier because you were helping her with her digital nomad life, hooking her up as well, right?
Yeah, she's going to start her little venture. She's starting obviously a lot, the sense that she's in a car and a tent and a dog, and I'm in a 40-foot rig with my best friend and two cats, and it's really a condo on wheels. So I mean, yes, we'll both be pegged as digital nomads, but it's completely two different lifestyles for sure.
Yeah. Well, again, I just want to say thank you for all my connectors that are watching. Thank you, Demian and the cats and Nikki for your participation, because Nikki did come on earlier. And we'll go in and we'll interact. If you have any questions that we didn't answer about relationships and sales, how to nurture both of those, let us know and we will go in and answer those questions. Amanda said, #got this. Yes, girlfriend, high five to you, because you do have this. You have the support of all of us to help you through this entrepreneur journey that you're taking off on. You guys can find me here the first and third Wednesdays of the month at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on my Facebook, I was going to say channel, my Facebook page. And we have some great guests coming up. Amanda Robinson is going to be one of those guests. We are booked through the end of this year. I'm so excited to have some fabulous guests signed up. Let me know who you would like to see on this guest and what problem I can help you solve. So I'm signing off for tonight, and I'll see you later. Ciao.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.